Hello, everybody. My name is Edward S. Redcar, and I'm the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And today I really have the awesome pleasure of interviewing and talking with Chuti Q. How are you doing today, Chuti?
I am good, Edward. It's been a whirlwind of a film festival run thus far, and we still have many more to go. Uh, yeah, keeping that energy up can be a challenge sometimes, but gotta just get the rest and take the vitamins and all of that stuff,
get,
right?
get the vitamin D from the sunshine and all that good stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Amen.
Uh, yeah, it's like you're actor, a director, a producer. Now, before we go any further, am I pronouncing your last name correctly now?
Yes, yes. And it's actually people can just say, to make it even easier, just the number two, Chuti
Oh,
two.
okay.
Yes,
Chuti,
but
Chuti, Chuti too.
two. It's
Okay.
just easier. But let me tell you, if you want to be more correct in terms of the Chinese pronunciation, it would be Thieu. But I'm not holding anyone to that. So especially for we Americans,
Okay.
speakers, it's just two is fine.
Two.
Number
Okay. Chuti too. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I was mentioning before we started recording here, it's like you're into so many different things, so many different projects, and it's like, my gosh, how do I mean, I'm absolutely interested in everything that you're posting about Facebook, Instagram, and it's like, my gosh, it's like, how do I narrow this down? It would be like a 24-hour recorded documentary, and it's like, well, I don't know if I can go that long, but let's see how we can trim it down to fit it into the time that we have with you today. So yeah, so what I usually like to do when I start my shows, whether my guest is like an actor, a singer, dancer, writer, director, producer, whatever they happen to be, I like to find out how they became interested in what they're doing today. You know, how they first got started in whatever their profession happens to be. And so I'll pose this first question to you. How did you become interested in acting, writing, and producing?
Well, the first foray really is the acting line, the acting path. And I like to say that my first big break was being cast as Snow White in the first grade. I, I still remember. So I have this penchant of, sometimes just spontaneously, I don't know, not combusting, but shrieking if I'm excited or scared or what have you. But I remember I was in an all white grade school, first grade, and I literally thought, because I was so excited. I love to perform. I love to make people laugh, cry. I've always loved that. So in first grade, I just thought, okay, it would be great if I could be Snow White, but you know, I get it. I don't look like everybody else. It'd be weird. So maybe I'll be a tree. That's what I'm thinking, right? Or I don't know, one of the seven dwarfs. I'm not sure. But then when Miss Malloy, I still remember, mentioned my name, and Chuti too is Snow White. I screamed like I won
Wow.
the lottery.
Wow.
It was so funny. And I have to say, that was just one of the many steps. You know how impressionable we are as children.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we get positive reinforcement, if you will. And not only that, I remember performing poems and speeches in school and in church and all of that kind of stuff. I also was a classical pianist, or trained in classical piano. So
Oh.
I loved my piano teacher, Mrs. Clara Saylor, who rest in peace is now deceased. She always taught me to tell a story with every single piano piece, and in a way, I feel like that kind of storytelling and presenting a journey to the audience has always been something that's been fostered in me by various people. And so, I would say that's where the seeds for me were planted as an actor, and then, various productions through the years in high school and college and whatnot.
Mhm. So, like even before acting, were you learning the piano even before you got your first big break as Snow White?
Oh, you know what? I would say it happened at around the same time, studying piano and and acting and performing, if you will, at that young age. I will say though, I didn't start with Mrs. Saylor in the beginning. I started with a woman. I won't name her name. She may she rest in peace also. But I think this is something to share that many people, artists, business people, athletes, whatever, sometimes you get a door slammed in your face. But it's up to you to either take that as a sign or keep going if that's what your heart tells you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
This particular teacher, I remember at around the first grade, kindergarten, first grade, I was studying with her playing the piano. And at one point, she told my father and said, I think Chuti really should, this is not her. This is not for her. She should try something else. And my dad looked at her and, didn't, let's just say nicely, he didn't agree. And I loved
I can read between the lines.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I won't give you verbatim what he said, right?
Okay. I got you. I got you.
You got me?
I got you.
Then,
wink, wink. I got
wink,
you.
wink. You got me. And then when I won my first piano competition, my dad sent her a newspaper clipping in the mail. Yeah, just kind of like, yeah, this is what we think of what you said.
Oh, so that was sort of a polite way of saying like in your face. Something
That's exactly it. It was a very polite way of saying, yeah.
a very polite, dignified, socially acceptable, politically correct,
way of exactly.
Okay. So like from that time on, what did she have any opinions about your acting after that when you sort of took off with your acting?
Well, it's interesting because I actually I was not just to be clear, I wasn't always training as an actress in my formative years, as a child and teenager and whatnot. It came more as a lot of self-reflection in terms of what was my passion and what did I like to do. And in college or thereabouts, I remember having a conversation with a lot of my good friends. It was one of those come to Jesus moments, if you will, just where everyone's very vulnerable. It was New Year's Day. After we had all partied New Year's Eve, right?
Okay.
And a bunch of us girls, women, we're eating cold pizza from Domino's and
saying, I love cold pizza.
Right. With some old beer and whatever. And we're just going, what if money were no object, what would you do in life? And, we all went around the circle, like, what would you do? What would you do? And it was interesting because a lot of people I felt were saying that they would do something other than what they were already doing at present. Like there was one writer who said that she would write a book about her father, but instead she was accepting a job in journalism and going to pursue that because it would be more stable. And a lot of people were doing that, which makes complete sense. Okay. Choosing the path that's more stable, that you're going to be able to make ends meet and whatever. And at that impressionable young age, I thought, wait a second, I have time later on to be like, okay, let me shelve some of my dreams. And yes, let me shelve some of my dreams and do the sensible job thing.
Right.
Have some time, right?
So
sure. That's when I said, well, you know what? I would if money were no object, I would perform and tell stories in front of the camera, on stage, what have you. And when I realized that, I thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And actually, I've never turned back, much to my parents' chagrin at moments.
Oh, okay.
You know how parents are. Well, they care for their children, want to
Oh,
make.
naturally, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, it's like the whole 9 yards, It's like, the stable life. You gotta think of your retirement, and the list goes on and on and on, right?
Right. And those, you know what? Those are good things. I'm not
Oh
saying,
yeah.
oh,
Oh
don't
no, I
worry about
totally
that.
agree.
Throw that away. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
are
yeah.
good things to think about. But I definitely chose to follow my passion and my heart.
And I'm glad you did, because otherwise I wouldn't have anybody to talk to here today on Zoom.
That's right. And I think that's really, you being a filmmaker, actor as well. It's what drives us,
It
you know.
does. It does. Yeah, I don't know about you, but it's like when you get up each and every morning, uh, if there's nothing else that you can think of that you would rather be doing, then that is meant for you. Plain,
I
plain and simple. Plain and simple.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I
And
completely agree.
yeah. And I once heard too that we first got into this because we were having fun, right? It was fun for us to make up stories, or like when we were kids, 10 or 11 years old, and making up stories just like out of thin air. Okay, you play the bad guy, I'll play the cop, or, you play the landowner, you play the neighbor, or whatever. And we did it because it was fun, because, right, our imagination just went, woo, right?
So absolutely,
Yeah,
our
yeah,
imagination,
yeah.
utilizing that to the hilt.
Yep, yeah. And I once heard that for people, if it's not fun for you anymore, then it's like you don't have any business being in the business if you're not doing it for the fun.
Yeah,
That's
I totally agree. And here's the thing too. I think especially initially, a lot of people in whatever, it's not just an actor, writer, producer, painter, musician, but it can be an athlete, business person, entrepreneur, philanthropist, whatever, vein of gold, if you will, that you choose to follow.
mhm, mhm.
Um, I think initially I would call it a little bit of a superficial fun, like, woo, that just like anything when it's new. But in terms of dedication and commitment later,
Yeah.
I I would call it a deeper level of fun,
Mm.
more like satisfaction and fulfillment, because that is fun, but it can feel different and manifest itself
Oh,
more different.
sure.
So I know that, playing Snow White, that was so much fun, to portray that story and all that kind of stuff on a certain level. But I think definitely now, um, how I see it, being an actor and writer, and in the future I intend to direct. Just that's definitely on the back of
Yeah,
me.
on the horizon.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly on the horizon.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I look at it literally as a way of erasing the boundaries between all of us human beings. We may have these definitions like male, female, binary, non-binary, American, non-American, whatever country you belong to, whatever socio-economic class you belong to, these things that we feel make us separate from other people. What I love is, as an actor, I have to forget who Chuti 2 is in terms of the definitions. I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a mom of a cat, I'm a daughter, blah, 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 blah. Live in Los Angeles, da, da, da. And all my own story, and then inhabit somebody else's story and tell their story because they have a voice and they deserve to be heard. It doesn't matter if I've never lived that life.
Right.
It doesn't matter if, I don't get it. I don't need to get it up here. I need to realize that as a human being, we all go through challenges, ups and downs, and disappointments and victories, what have you. And it's a challenge. It's literally like a calling of being able to give voice to somebody else that I might not even agree with them. And that's a challenge too. It's like, it's not, as an actor, I am not to judge another person's life. My calling and my job really is to give them a voice in as truthful a way as possible.
Mhm, mhm. So whether we're on stage or on film, as soon as we step on that stage or as soon as we get in front of that camera, it's like we disappear and the character that we're portraying comes to the forefront. We go into the background, and so we enter in that with no preconceptions or prejudices, or like you were saying, or opinions. So I like that part of acting, which is, probably the major part, is that the self disappears for what, 2 hours of a stage show or an hour and a half of of a film or something like that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's sort of like the basic stuff of what we do. Forget about the self and like highlight the life and the story of someone else that we're portraying. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a project I did a couple years back, a television show, Nashville, where I played a lawyer, Tara
Mhm.
Ash. And it was funny. This might not sound like a compliment, but one of my friends, Terry, a fellow screenwriter, she said to me, Chuti, I saw you on Nashville. Man, I hated your guts. And I was like, thank you.
I, I, I,
Me,
I knew you were going to say that. You probably said, thank you. I did my job good, right?
that's exactly it. Because, in the role, I was representing Maddie Conrad, who was litigating or suing to be emancipated from her parents, and her parents in the show, very popular. Raina and Teddy, very popular characters on the show. So everyone, I think many people were rooting for Raina and Teddy and not
Uh-huh.
the daughter, to be emancipated. And of course, when Maddie was emancipated and I won the case, some people got all pissy and whatever, which is great because that's part of the story, and it does mean I did my job well.
That's right.
Uh, I I think anyone who, as an actor, actors really don't go, oh, I played this bad guy and I'm a jerk, and I think that most people don't actually go through their lives going, I'm such a bad guy, Yeah, I mean, well, maybe there are some people. There are always exceptions,
I was
but
going to say there's always exceptions to the rule, right? Yeah.
right, I can think of a couple,
Couple.
a couple. But I also think, though, that even those people are not 24/7 saying that mantra in their
Yeah.
head.
Oh, no.
Everyone has justifies to themselves and to other people. This is why I chose what I did,
That's right. But
and it's
it,
coming from that as an actor.
yeah, but in the privacy of their own lives there, it's like they've got to shut the switch off sometimes. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to tell people in my public persona. Okay, we get home, we close the door. Okay, let's chill,
Yep,
until the
exactly.
next day. Yeah, yeah. So the for all the different things that you've done, like you were saying, concert pianist and starting to act when you were very young. Were there any like local community theaters in your area besides plays that you were in, like in school, like local volunteer community theaters where you got like additional experience?
Absolutely. I totally did. In fact, oh my gosh, I remember them with fondness. Um, I think, oh, wow, if you think about it on every level, there are people wanting to tell stories, and one of them, a playwright, uh, from Chicago. She wrote a play called A White Collar Death in a Pink Collar Ghetto. And, a dark comedy. And that was, I remember, one of the community plays I was in early on, and a heck of a lot of fun.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, was the playwright. And yeah, I think invaluable experience.
Mm,
Not
mhm,
not just working with other people, but also
mhm,
like timing and working off the audience. That
mhm,
kind of chemistry.
mhm.
Theater is a magical chemistry, I
It
think.
is, it is.
Because it's live. It's almost like there's another character in the story, and that's the listener.
Yeah,
Where I think in television, film, it's much more intimate. You know what I mean? You're not projecting to the rafters,
right,
and
right, 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 right,
so
right.
there's I'll just call it, like, yeah, a different balance and a different chemistry of the energies that are involved.
Yeah, that to me, I found that to be like a great training ground. Like sometimes I'll have like some young performers ask me, well, uh, how do I get into all of this? And like some of them, they want to start like right out of the starting gate. Oh, I want to be in film. I want to be in movies and this and that. I love to act. I want to be in movies. And it's like I always say that like the greatest training ground is like local community theater, like you were mentioning. It's like in my early days in community theater, it's like you were saying, not only do you learn about like acting and the audience and the vibe you get off of them, feeding off of them, whether it's like in a drama or comedy. I've also been in some stage productions where I have also like helped in the wardrobe department. They would be receiving the wardrobe from out of town. It would come in the big cardboard boxes, and you have to take them out of there and catalog like each character and this and that, props. Um, um,
I
how about like with you, summer stock theater? Was that part of your
You
training?
know what? I didn't know. It was not. It was not. This is going to sound funny. Friends and people I've dated, um, did were part of that, but I had never really done any summer stock productions.
Okay, okay.
That doesn't mean I didn't audition for them, by the
Well,
way.
well, yeah. I mean, you can learn a lot like from like summer stock. It's uh, sort of like local community theater, sort of taken up to the next level. Like
I
you know.
totally agree. Absolutely. And I think, like what you said, the experience is invaluable, especially when you're involved in many of the other departments or something.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
I think as any person, actor, writer, producer,
yeah.
director, the more you know about the other departments, the more you're able to collaborate.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you actually know what's going on. It's like it's not only, well, I'm on the stage. I don't do this. I don't do that. It's like the whole collection of everything. It's like collection of everything coming together. Like I says, I learned about acting, the audience, wardrobe. I had opportunity once or twice to like temporarily like operate the lighting, things like that,
Uh-huh.
sound. Um, yeah, and set building, things like that. So yeah, community theater is a great. I always turn like the young performer. It's like start with the stage first. That's like your basic training, like boot camp. You know,
Right.
if you.
Right. And it can be.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and it's interesting though, because I do feel like this field has many entryways. So independent film, as you and I know, is another great way of being involved in so many different departments, and thereby learning better how the end result is achieved. Like, editing, sound, coloring, all of those things that's really part is with film and television, that this medium, the
Yeah.
two-dimensional medium, if you will, it it is those are all vital parts of that production.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's invaluable to know about how each cog fits with the other cog, and so uh, you can appreciate more like how all the different, if you want to call it, players are involved in a production. It's like then you can kind of feel the family atmosphere. Well, they do this, I do that, they do that, and so it's like we're all, like they say, we're all working towards the same goals. So it's not one is better than the other, or one's has is more important or more duties than the other. It's like sort of like the collective, everybody coming together. So
Yes, a greater appreciation and respect
oh
for
yeah,
everyone plays.
oh definitely, yeah. And going along with that same thought about being a collection of collaboration, everything, it's like you've been like in so many different projects, one of which that you talked about, Nashville. And so I noticed in a March 2021 Instagram post that you mentioned four projects that you used to compose your acting reel, Nashville being one of them, also Yellowstone, how to get away with murder, and just a man and a woman, and one of those projects, Nashville, that you just talked about, and you said you played attorney Tara Ashton, and so I know you've started talking about her a little bit, but is there maybe any more to the plot of the story you'd want to add, and any more about the character that you'd like to mention?
Well, you mentioned there are actually several other projects in my drama reel. I have a drama reel and a comedy reel, but especially with the stories in the drama reel that you mentioned, including the Nashville project, a through line that I have seen through my characters that I've been blessed to play is this path of seeking and expressing the truth. So you see that when I played a lawyer in Nashville, definitely as a judge in How to Get Away with Murder, opposite Viola Davis. I hold steadfast to what is the truth. Same thing with Just a Man and a Woman, where without, because that's definitely a twist ending that I don't like to say on in an interview, because then it kind of kills the ending.
But I know how it ends.
Yes, you do.
I know how it ends, but like that, throwing
but
away
if
the key, throwing away the
but
key.
if you think about it, my role as the woman in Just a Man and a Woman, I am very much holding steadfast to I know the truth, and I want it to be known. And I'm willing to give up so much in order to make that happen. So there's that. And then also with Yellowstone, as a reporter, I mean, every reporter does want to seek the truth and report it and make sure it's known. So that's a great through line that I it's interesting. I think it's almost fascinating how many actors, you'll see a through line in the characters that they portray, almost because of the essence that they've been born with. Some people may have like a almost domineering, dominant, bullying energy, and so it seems like they get a lot of those roles. So I even, now this wasn't a summer stock play, but I in Agamemnon, Stephen Burkoff's Agamemnon, I played Cassandra in Chicago for a couple seasons, and that was a great experience. That's early on. That so much Cassandra is telling the truth. Her visions, she's expressing it. No one listens to her, but she's telling the truth. So it's kind of funny how I think it's almost like we all have our own unique footprint that we utilize to the best of our ability in as an actor or whatever path you've chosen.
It's interesting that you were talking about just now, among those four projects of yours that I mentioned that you used to put in your reel, drama reel, and the one that you just one of them you mentioned, Just a Man and a Woman, and it's won film festival awards and all that, and I remember, well, without giving anything away, because I know what you know, without giving anything away, I asked you, I think I asked you maybe part of this question when we were both at the film festival in Barcelona. And I'll give a shameless plug, the Love and Hope International Film Festival in Barcelona, Spain, that her and Oscar was there, and I was there too. I think I might have asked you part of this question there, that I'll just say, without giving anything away, that I was surprised at the ending, and I was surprised to find out who you actually were associated with the ending.
Yes.
Yeah. And without giving anything away, did the person that you actually were and actually gave away at the end of the scene, did that help you get into your character more, with like the frustrations and the aggravations that you felt?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My backstory, if you want to call it that, my life story in Just a Man and a Woman, it helps, like, being pulled between various forces that seem diametrically opposed. So I think also in life, we face those kinds of dilemmas all the time, right? Some of them are more superficial, like ketchup or mustard, hot dog or hamburger. I mean, that's not a big deal. But then others might be, some things that people might encounter in life, which is like Hamlet, to be or not to be, but like to get divorced or not to get divorced, to quit a job or stay with the job, et cetera, all of those kinds of stuff. So I think that that's what we as human beings all encounter on a daily basis. A story would be really boring if all one did was just live through life. No choices are made. Everything works out perfectly. I have no questions. I have just answer. You know what I mean? So yes. And something that I do want to point out too, that in Just a Man and a Woman, my character as the woman, part of the reason why it is such a surprise at the end is because we tend to make assumptions of people based on their occupation, on what they look like. It's human nature, and I love it when in projects, film and television projects, especially because obviously with theater you can put on makeup and it's a little bit different. It's from further away, but it's so intimate in film and television, where let's say you see a doctor and the stereotypical doctor will be like, knows it all, and she or he has everything together, is very wealthy, blah, blah, blah. Let's say those are assumptions. But maybe seeing this physician struggle with depression and has a drug abuse problem. People don't necessarily put those two things together. And same thing in Just a Man and a Woman. And then same thing as A Summer Night, the film that we're doing a film festival tour right now.
Right.
As an exotic dancer, something that I know Oscar Torre, who wrote and directed, and is my husband, wrote and directed this piece. He wanted to make sure, and I wanted to make sure to illustrate that, we make assumptions of sex workers, of exotic dancers, like they must be here's just an example. Oh, they're angry at men. They hate men. What? Oh, they come from really difficult backgrounds that they were forced into this. While the background of my character, Summer, in A Summer Night, it's not explained. What I worked on and what Oscar worked on, we know of actually personally people who they put themselves through medical school by being an exotic dancer. People that you don't, you wouldn't think, someone who looks so sweet and loves themselves and comes from a great family, yet is an exotic dancer. So I think that's something that television and film has the power to do, is challenge our misconceptions and preconceived notions of, oh, just because you're an athlete, you're blah, blah, blah. Just because you're such and such a race, you're blah, blah, blah,
So that sort of peels away the layers of our assumptions that we always make, right? The doctors that always appear to be high and mighty, and like you said, they know everything, and they've gone, elementary school, high school, pre-med, med, residency. We see them going through life, bop, 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 never seeing like the inner conflicts, right? That they're just like us, right? Just like everybody else. They just happen to be in a line of work or a profession that for some reason has been held on high for what, centuries, right? So
yeah, the just challenging what we assume. There's here's another one I think is just funny. I have a good friend and neighbor who happens to be Asian, and she will frequently say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at math. Can you help me out here?" or whatever. That right there, what we see all the time are, the Asian people, they're like human calculators, blah, 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 come on. Yes, I get it. Sometimes it's true, but you can't make assumptions about an entire race of people, an entire, it's not fair. You want to take people individually.
Yeah. It's like I don't know way back in time who started it with assuming different things about different types of people and this and that, but unfortunately, I mean, it happens to this day. I would like to think lesser now than it was before, but that Summer Night film, that it does show that there is more to her than what she appears to do, right? Either on camera or actually in person with where she works, right? There's more layers to her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a challenge as a storyteller, whether you are a director, writer, producer, actor. You definitely want to portray that people are not cardboard cutouts. There's so much more involved in everybody. I mean, it's so interesting on a daily basis. I think it's just human nature where we make assumptions, and without saying names, Oscar and I had encountered a friend, but who seemed in a public place. I'm being really vague because I just want to respect people's privacy. But encountered a friend, but this particular person was very evasive, and Oscar and I were like, well, why are they being so snobby and whatever? And we made certain assumptions. I won't go into what we thought it was. It just we thought, are they mad at us? Blah, 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 blah. Well, it turned out that we found out that this person is going through a really vitriolic divorce. And we're like, oh my gosh, we had no idea. And we're like, oh, that makes total
Total
sense.
sense, right? Yeah.
You know, there's a rather it had kind of gone viral. I remember a man on a New York subway. He I think he was a journalist actually, and he detailed his experience. He was on the subway, and as he's riding, onto the subway comes a father and four children, and they're just rambunctious as heck, and they're being really rude, like bumping people, blah 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 blah. And the dad is not doing anything. The dad is not trying to keep them under control or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the journalist says to the gentleman, it's like, "Excuse me, sir, could you please get a handful of your kids? They're really being bothersome." And so the man says, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice. We just found out my wife has died and we don't know how to handle it."
Oh my gosh.
So and so the father starts to apologize. Like, "We just got back from the hospital and I don't know." And so this journalist, this person then backpedals. It's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Uh, you do you.
Yeah.
I'm a rude jerk." You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
we don't know what's going on in someone else's life, right?
Right.
Um,
That's true.
I really think that's what we do as storytellers. We share a life
Right.
on.
Right.
And it's like maybe we can learn, maybe people can learn from it. Maybe it can be
Yeah.
like a mirror held up
Well,
to them. Oh, they're going through this too, you know.
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that point because some time ago it occurred to me like, well, currently I've been doing more like film than stage, but I kind of reflected back to my stage days. And it's like one time it occurred to me, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're doing a drama or a comedy, but there might be something that you say that's in the script that's one of your lines, or it could be a line from one of your fellow actors on stage, and there might happen to be, say, maybe a person in the audience that is going through a tough time in their life dealing with whatever, and something that you say or one of your fellow actors say in their lines, totally unknown to you, might hit a chord and help that audience member somehow. You won't ever know when it happens or how it happens. You might never meet them, the person that's watching you in the dark off the stage light, off the stage. And it's like you might be helping somebody with something that you have no idea what they're going through. You have no idea who they are. You don't know how long they have been dealing with whatever they've been dealing with. So I always thought to myself that we as actors are sort of like emotional doctors. It just hit me like that. So that's the way that I kind of see actors. If someone is dealing with a hard problem, or it might be if we're in a film and we don't know who is in the movie theater watching the film after it's been post production and all that. That's my take on like acting. In the end, besides loving what we do, I don't know. To me, I see us as sort of emotional doctors. So
I completely agree, Edward. In fact, so there's a film, it came out several years ago, Pretty Rosebud, which I was the lead in, and I also wrote and produced, and Oscar directed. So, like what you said, you never know who sees something, who's affected by it. So I got a message on LinkedIn of all places, and I'm not frequently on LinkedIn. It's something I will get more and more into because I know it's a good platform. Um, a gentleman from France said to me that he saw Pretty Rosebud, and he had questions for me about why I wrote it this way and why I performed it this way. And I answered him back and forth. And then he let me know a little bit about his life. He said, "Thank you so much for this film. It helped me understand a little bit more my ex-wife's and my divorce and what actually occurred and why things happened. And we actually corresponded for quite a bit because I was blown away that there's this some person I never met. I was like, wow, you're in
Right.
France? How did you see this film? Obviously in a streaming service, one of them, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
so random and you have no idea. And it's I think that's something also a challenge for us as storytellers that we just trust that at some point what we've given voice to will find the right hearts. And we may never find out that, oh, it helped someone. We may never hear that,
Yeah.
but just having the trust that, okay, we might hear from a couple of people and that feeds us a little bit, knowing, yay, I helped someone. But knowing we may never know how we affect others.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It's a
um,
beautiful thing, I
it
think.
is. It is a beautiful thing, and great, great reward. Besides knowing that, uh, yeah, that we love, what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
you mentioned the Summer Night movie, and I I have to give an advertisement there that you play the lead role in the feature film Summer Night, which was also screened at the Love and Hope Film Festival, Barcelona,
That was
Spain.
our world premiere, in fact.
Yes, and you were awarded the Best Actress in a Feature Film at that film festival. And kudos to you, and Oscar and everybody associated with the film.
Thank
And
you.
so since you've gotten a little bit into what the film was about, um, I remember in the Q&A session after that film, I remember your husband Oscar was talking about the different filming techniques that both of you used
Yes.
in that film. And so you used the filming techniques where you had like a straight on shot in the computer screen when you were talking to the client. And also there were like side shots, angle shots, left, right shots that were actually, and I remember this, he was talking about this in the Q&A, that the side shots were actually done with a camera, but the straight on shots were done like we are now, like with Zoom.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what was it like performing in sort of like two mediums at once, like on the Zoom screen and also being filmed like from either direction?
I it was it was a really cool experience actually because I think it captured a universal situation. Like we find ourselves, you and I, in that exact same thing right now.
Right,
So
right.
camera is capturing you and the camera's capturing me, and this is what we choose to put forth to the camera, right? If there were a camera here right now, see, I always find it funny that on Zoom, a lot of times, like I remember John Krasinski and his good news thing, he'd have like boxer shorts.
Yeah.
That's what's really going on. But here is the mask, if you will, or the presentation that we choose to expose. But
Right.
then, here you see like, oh, the bells and whistles. Oh, you see the hanging laundry that's drying, or you know what I mean? The cracks, if you will, in the
Yeah,
facade.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually loved that part. One of the many parts I love about A Summer Night, but that Oscar chose to use those mediums. The Zoom is really how it's the mask, it's the facade that we show to the world. But the black magic camera was capturing, okay, the cracks, the imperfections, the flaws, the worries, the
Yeah,
what that we try so hard to hide from the rest of the world.
yeah.
Like on Zoom, you can have filters and all that kind of stuff. The
Oh,
black
yeah.
no, it did not have filters. I was like, wow, you can see every wrinkle, every
Right.
mole, every whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah,
You, Either that or on the side shot, you can see every hair that is not on my head, something like
Exactly.
that.
Ah,
I,
you know,
I was just going to say, you're talking about the side shots. To me, when I watched the film there at the screening at the film festival, uh, uh, it gave like a depth, more of a depth of like a reality, because it's like I could actually see, like it was sort of like cutting away, like you had the straight on shot with the zoom, and at the same time, like you were saying with the black magic camera, it was sort of like at the same instant, seeing it from the side, you could detect so many different like emotions and expressions other than what was like straight on. It was like almost instantaneous. The zoom and the black magic shooting it at the same time, and it it made me realize, it's like, wow, it's like it exposes a whole other world of emotions, and it seemed to be more real. I
absolutely,
mean,
absolutely. I totally agree. And I think that is something that, I mean, it almost illuminates one of the challenges of the pandemic, or just even constantly having a virtual two-dimensional world, on screen, which I think that's why a lot of businesses now used to be, oh my gosh, everyone work from home, and more they're coming back to, hey, we need the in-person dynamic,
Yes.
because we miss so much. So it's funny. I think that, for example, it's a great metaphor, or a great comparison would be, in emails, you cannot hear someone's tone of voice, right? So you can infuse someone being a real jerk with the same exact words, or
Right.
having a real tone with the same exact words. So
Right.
there's the print, then there's just like, talking on the phone. You great,
Uh-huh.
you hear the verbal cues, but you don't see,
No.
right? We're
No.
missing that. Then the next level is Zoom. Yes, seeing each other, but you and I were just talking briefly
Mhm.
before our interview today. Seeing each other on Zoom is not like being in person, where I can hug
No.
you and, really, really relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this, and then there's in person, which honestly, that feels like the best
It
form.
is. It
Yeah.
is. It is. Yeah. And like I was saying, like at the film festival yesterday, I was mentioning the film that I was in last year that was directed by Ella Muscroft, and
After mom.
and After Mom, and then had Bex Barlow and Michael Lake, Bella Duvet, and there's so many of us there. And yeah, that's what, like I was saying, it's like it was surreal. I could not believe that standing in front of me was the actual person that I had seen here like for so many months. And it's yeah, it is surreal, and it's sort of like a nice surprise, It's like, oh my gosh, I finally get to meet in person who I've seen on here like for so long. Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's something that A Summer Night really strives to illustrate, that we have, again, it's that whole thing of, where's the truth? Here's the mask. Where's the unmasked? Where
right.
is truth, the real core? And in fact, one of the actors recently at our US premiere at the North Hollywood Cinefest,
Uh-huh.
Costa, was an actor that I had never met in person, but he came out for the premiere. I'm like, Shane, hi, oh my gosh, you're three-dimensional now. And relating to him in a more even more real way,
Right.
profound, and just here's the screen image.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not in the box. We're actually face to face. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
even this meeting here, now to me, it feels strange that we first seen each other in person, but now we're limited to this glass that's in between us. It's sort of like just the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like I seen you in person, but now all I can see is just on the screen. It feels like so limiting. It's like,
Yes.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah. One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about, one of your other projects, in addition to Summer Night, Just a Man and a Woman, and all the others that you've been in, is one of your most recent projects. In a July 2023 um, Instagram post, your role as Ernie Hudson's partner in Business and Love in the film Prisoner's Daughter. And could you kind of describe to us what the name of your character is and what that story is about in that film?
Yeah. I play Lily. I'm a co-owner of a boxing training gym and also a boxing trainer. And it actually was, oh boy, let me tell you. And we shot this during the pandemic. So a lot of productions that filmed during the pandemic, it was a challenge, wearing the masks, making sure things are sanitized, making sure, oh, you're in the right waiting area and all of that kind of stuff. But on top of that, we filmed in the middle of summer in Las Vegas, and I remember specifically being in one of the transportation vans, from set to our trailers. I looked at the temperature gauge, and they said 123 degrees. I was like,
Oh.
oh my god, so hot! It was so hot, and in the gym, as you can imagine, when we were filming, we had to shut off the fans. There was no air conditioning. It was pretty darn hot. So I
Oh, yeah.
commend the entire cast and crew for, like, it was, when we were sweating bullets, they
Yeah.
were all real sweat for sure. But it's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away, it is about, I'd say, in a nutshell, the relationship between Kate Beckinsale and Brian Cox, and going from a dysfunctional relationship between father and daughter and how they navigate it, because of some things that evolve. I don't like to tell too much. I'm like, leak that out. But yeah, it's a beautifully written and acted and directed story. It was directed by Catherine Hardwicke, and great experience all around.
So since it was so hot there, there was no way that you could convince, like, the director, producer, or anything. Could we maybe just limit our scene time to maybe a scene in the car?
Yes, exactly.
With the air conditioning on?
With the air conditioning.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we maybe make a smaller group rather than going into the school and the gym, and just kind of have enough to kind of cram in the car to kind of have a meeting or whatever we were going to do in the school in a nice air conditioned car? Can we take a vote on this? Did they want me to take a vote or no?
Yeah. How about we have a scene in a freezer, a walk-in freezer?
There you go.
Oh gosh.
There you go. That could change, that could change the entire plot of the movie. These movies where people go into kind of freezers, these kind of shady movies. So that could have changed the plot of the movie altogether. So
add a new element. Why not? Right?
That's right.
Crazier things have happened. I do think with independent films, it's kind of funny where you get to roll with the punches a little bit more, because you're not, it's not like you have to move an entire mountain. It's just a small molehill. So as an example, I remember for the end of the film Pretty Rosebud, on the day of filming, one of the locations said, "I'm sorry, you can't be here. You have to be wrapped by 7 p.m." And mind you, we had scheduled for a night shoot where we had tiki torches and it was going to be beautiful or whatever. Instantly had to reimagine it. And so Oscar and the producer and the set designer figured some stuff out. They suddenly connected ropes to trees and put fabric that the set designer happened to have in her trunk draped it all around so that it could be more of a day scene, like dusk, dawn to dusk,
Okay.
dawn. Wait a minute, dusk at the end of the day, dusk, so that we didn't need that whole, tiki torch night scene.
Okay. Okay.
It's like you got to roll with the punches, like, oh,
I was going to say that's thinking on your feet. That's thinking on your feet
completely,
real quick. Yeah. Yeah.
pretty
Well,
amazing.
that reminds me one film that I was in about a year ago. Um, they had to do some pickup shots, maybe like a year after they made the film, and uh, um, it was about these two schools that had to merge together, and one school had to merge with the other school and abandon their school, and so there was controversy among the teachers and staff and everything. So in the pickup shots, like a year later, they wanted to do like some extra close-ups of us, to kind of merge it into the film. And so they needed a school with a gym because the scene was all the teachers and staff gathered in the gym, sitting on the bleachers, and the principal had to address them and tell them of all the problems and everything. But we didn't know it that when we got to the school, they had like two different gyms. And so it's like, well, what gym do we use? One's bigger than the other. And it's like these two gyms were like on opposite sides of the school. And it felt like we were walking like for a mile and a half to the gym that was actually going to work, well, like with the lighting or whatever it was. But that I think they were thinking of doing the scene in the first gym, but they realized that I guess it just didn't have the right feel. So
Mhm.
here there's a whole line of us trekking to the other side of the gym, and it's like, oh God! I said, Jesus, I hope this other gym fulfills the requirements. I don't want to walk the other mile and a half back to the first gym, So
Oops, we change our minds. Everyone thinks that go back. Oh my gosh, all the
and
lights.
and this was on the tail end of COVID, where you had to come in and you had to sign the sheet, the waiver, and they gave each person in the cast their own personal hand sanitation bottle, and
Yeah.
you could wear your mask. You didn't have to wear your mask when you were on set, but when you're off to the side, then everybody had to be masked. So it was like all those things taken into consideration, and it's like, well, we finally got through it, but no, I know what you mean about like on the fly decisions and things like that, but it made it interesting,
Right?
like they
We
like they say, never a dull moment. So I guess that's what we're all about in this business, never a dull moment. So
never, that is for sure. Yep.
so talking about never a dull moment, I know like when all of us were growing up at home, there was like never a dull moment. Things were always happening and going on. So I read that it was in a May 2022 Mother's Day post. You show a photo of your mother with you and two other of your siblings. And at the tail end of the post, you show a Milwaukee and a hashtag. So that made me assume that since it was hashtag Milwaukee, that you must have grown up in Milwaukee. So I just wanted to ask you if there's anything that you wanted to say about your family life growing up and what it was like growing up in Milwaukee, provided my assumption is right, in Milwaukee.
Oh, yes. Speaking of assumptions, right? The
Yes.
way kind of a throwback.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you think of when you hear of Milwaukee, Happy Days and Laverne and
Yeah.
Shirley and
Right.
all, right? Yeah, no, there's a part of me that's very proud of my Milwaukee roots. And my brother and sister, all three of us grew up there, went to school there, actually ended up going to college out of state. But love, just there's a song, okay, long time ago. This is from a long time ago. This dates me. But there was I won't sing the whole thing, but it
Okay.
goes, makes no difference where I go. You're the best hometown I know. Hello, Milwaukee. Hello, Milwaukee. Channel 12 loves you. No, it was obviously for Channel 12, but I
Yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah.
say, the whole song, I swear to God, me, my brother, and sister, we would sing all of the lyrics from the
Oh,
Michigan. I can watch you grow again. It's, you know what? Milwaukee was a really great place to grow up, I have to say. Now,
okay.
uh, it is interesting because when I've gone back to visit, it's even more racially diverse. I think just with the influx of new businesses and just the world at large, like
Mhm.
some pretty amazing Chinese food can be had in Milwaukee, believe it or not. uh, but yeah, it was, I think, the good hometown feel, like solid working class
Yeah,
values.
yeah.
Just yeah, it's something that I hold with me. I have to say that it's one of the more friendly places which that's where I came from. And I think as I traveled more to more metropolitan areas, I was like, oh, it's a good idea not to expect everyone to be friendly to you and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like it's just a little bit different way of what,
Right,
like when I went
right.
to Northwestern University in Evanston, I remember thinking, oh, wow, people are not as friendly as Milwaukee as they are in Milwaukee. But I mean, it's like, oh, okay, learn to adjust a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
But
yeah,
yeah,
there was there were
yeah, go ahead.
I have so many good memories from Milwaukee. One of the things, and racially speaking, there's a thing every fall called Holiday Folk Fair, and it celebrates every country, every culture with different dances, different presentations, different booths of food, of artifacts, of tchotchkes you can buy.
Wow.
It's really, really cool, and you wouldn't expect that from the Midwest, right? That's why
Right.
when you said assumptions that you might have,
Yeah.
because that's something too that also makes me proud to trumpet to the world, like,
Mhm.
you know the Midwest or certain parts of the country, while it's easy to assume that, oh, maybe every face was white there, and whatever the assumptions might go with that. Au contraire,
Oh.
there were there were a lot of very good experiences
Mhm.
I
Well,
have had.
hearing you talk about all the good things about Milwaukee, I can honestly say I have never heard anything bad about Milwaukee. Now that
Right?
you mention it, I've never heard a bad thing said about Milwaukee. So, no,
Thank you.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you. I don't know. I'm taking ownership for the entire city, but yes, yeah. What?
Well, you got a public platform here. You got the key to the city right here, right? So
Right.
take it. Take everything you can get out of it. Well, when you first started singing the Channel 12 song, when you said, well, there's a song that I remember, or however you put it, I says, I know which song she's going to sing. She's going to sing Shemazel,
Muscles
Hasselhoff Incorporated.
incorporated.
That's what I
We're
thought you were
gonna
going to
do
say.
it.
But I, but I like that one even better, because like when you started singing it, and I didn't know that it was a jingle for the 12, I says, it's got a melody like I think I should know what the song is, and you were singing the words, and sometimes you hear a song and you're not sure where you've heard it, but then by the time you got to the end of it, I liked the song, but I knew I never heard it because, well, Channel 12, I've never been to Milwaukee, so but that is a first for Edward S. Redgar's Entertainer Chat to have someone sing a TV channel jingle. So you're the very there's been a lot of firsts here, but yeah, that's the
That's
first.
the first.
Singing a TV jingle, that's hands down the tip top moment right there. Yeah, yeah. So
I
yeah,
love
I'm glad I was inquisitive about Milwaukee. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known anything, and then everybody out there in Zoom or YouTube or whatever land, they wouldn't know about it either. So before we started this show, I was talking about unpredictable moments on my show and how we go with the flow and this and that. Uh, Do you think that Moochie still wants to make an appearance? I won't say who Moochie is.
Yeah, I think he does.
Okay,
He'd
okay,
stand by. Yes, I
okay.
know him. Yes.
We'll stand by. We'll stand by. Yeah, everybody stand by for a surprise here. I mentioned Moochie, but I didn't mention who Moochie is. So in a few moments, we're going to find out who he is, and that's one of the things about this show. It's on the fly, even though it's on Zoom, and it's filled with totally unpredictable moments. Sometime, one of which is like right now. And there we are. There is Moochie.
This is Mochi, and he's actually an actor too. He is
Oh,
also in A Summer Night.
oh,
Seems to have forgotten his lines in A Summer Night. We wanted him to talk, but he was too shy.
oh. Well, you know what? He was a true film star because he was saying all of his emotions just with his eyes, right? He
Right?
was speaking with his eyes.
And expressive eyes he
Oh
has.
my gosh. Oh my God.
Us,
And how old is he?
he is we well, no, he was adopted.
Oh,
Adopted. So we guesstimate that he's around 12 and we hope he lives to 65. He's yeah.
oh, okay. Okay. Now,
Um,
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say we also shot uh, a film during the pandemic. It was a short film that was part of an anthology about it was called Sins and Virtues, and all of the sins and virtues in the pandemic and shot by like shot during lockdown with
Oh,
only the machinery, technology, whatever at hand. So Oscar and I directed, wrote, produced, acted, and so did this guy. He was actually great because since it was only me and Oscar in the room, he was free to be himself. It's
oh, okay.
it's when there are strangers around that he gets a little and he gets stage fright.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't consider me a stranger. Hi, Moochie. Hi, Moochie.
Hello, Edward.
Oh,
Can you come?
that's right.
So what we love to say is that he's definitely Oscar's son because he has like a goatee, the black triangle at the
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
there we
Like
go.
like they say, a chip off the old block. A chip off the old block.
That's exactly it.
So I like with dogs, I know I had a dog growing up. Now dogs, like every human year is like 7 years for a dog. So how is that for cats?
I think it might be somewhat similar.
Okay, okay,
So technically, he's a little bit of a senior citizen, but
okay,
I like to think that, he's still very, very young. I hope
right,
and pray.
right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You said he's like maybe 12 years old, and if it's like 7 years, so uh
He's like 80.
he I mean he's been on Social Security for about 20 years now, right?
Yeah, yes. And so he should really be paying me for rent,
You beat me,
nice.
you beat me to the punch. I was just going to say that, don't let his age be a deterrent in that. If you got something to say to him, no matter how old he is, he can take it. He's got experience on his side. So
He does.
that's right.
And
So
he speaks with authority. You should hear when Oscar and I come home. He he lectures us basically.
oh, okay. Where have you been? Why have you been gone so long? It doesn't matter if
Exactly.
it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, you've been gone. How could you do that to me, you know?
Oh, that's exactly it. How could you do that to me? And then I think there's some expletives in there.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
He's really good at that,
oh
aren't you?
yeah. Yeah. Well, good thing he doesn't spell out the expletives in cat alphabet. He just probably probably wants you to think that, he's being polite, but he doesn't want to actually let you know what he's saying. So
That's
he
exactly
he,
it.
he lets it lay at that. So I have really enjoyed speaking with you today, Chuti, and meeting Mucci there. I'm glad that he made a last minute appearance because he's stealing the show.
It
He's
really
stealing.
is
He's
his
stealing this.
presence. Thank you, Edward. And this has really been a pleasure. It was wonderful meeting you in Barcelona. And excuse me, I look forward. I think I got some cat fur in my throat.
I think
Yeah,
I got some virtual cat fur.
right. So a fur
That's
ball.
right.
I'm gonna hack up my fur ball. This has been wonderful to talk with you, and I really look forward to us continuing. Hopefully see you in Barcelona or on the East Coast or West Coast,
Oh
whichever.
yeah, oh sure, or another film festival or whatever. Sure, yeah, yeah. It was an extreme pleasure to meet both you and Oscar in person, and I know in a few days I'll be speaking with Oscar there, and yeah, it's just a pleasure meeting both of you in person. And like I says, now it feels so strange that we've got this glass between us, but we'll have plenty of other times to catch up and see each other in person again. So and
Amen.
it was nice to meet you for the first time, Mucci. It was really nice to meet you, and I hope you accept me as your friend, as a family friend. So I know there's probably like a grace period or a waiting period where you're making your decision, but
It's true.
I'll yield to that. I'll yield to that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
He has
so
he has to gain you have to gain his trust.
that's
He's a
right.
typical
That's
cat. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. That's right. In time, like they say, everything takes time. So yeah.
absolutely.
So thank both you and Mucci for being on my show today, and everyone. My name is Edward S. Redcar, the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat, and today I've had the extreme pleasure of talking with Chuti too, and also Mucci. So an added surprise in the mix here today. So stay tuned for when this will be uploaded to YouTube. And until we all meet again the next time, be sure to take a look and listen to all the films that I have on my YouTube channel. Like them, comment on each and every one. Comment on this one with the Chuti's interview. Tell her what an amazing, talented actress she is, and for winning Best Actress at the Love and Hope Film Festival in Barcelona, Spain, just this past month. So until the next time, have a good day. So long, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.